And we are back. We are very quickly going to go to line 7. Say a very good morning here to the Premier of the province of Newfoundland and Labrador, Premier Cathy Dunderdale. Good morning.
Good morning, Randy.
How are you doing?
I'm doing just great.
That's wonderful. You know, there's only two people we allow jump every line, the Prime Minister and the Premier. So that's a pretty good position to be in.
It's not bad at all.
Despite the hurt,
I enjoy it. And I'm
going
to do everything I can to maintain that position.
All right. Well, you carry on with that now. What's up this morning? I got a feeling I know.
Well, I wanted to come and call you and talk to you about the Navigant report.
Yes. What do you think?
Well, I'm pleased. It's one more step in the process as we move towards sanctions. So it's a piece of information that was part of the due diligence in the preparation of this project. It is a validation of the work that Nalcor has done, and of course we're very pleased about it. It validates the time, the effort, the study, the investment we have made in the preparation of this project. And I really have to take exception to an inference you made in your preamble.
Oh, okay.
In terms of Navigant specifically, and that, because Nalcor paid them to do the independent study, that somehow or other they are responding to what they believe Nalcor wants, rather than to the credibility of the work that has been done on Muskrat.
Well, that's taking me a little out of context.
Well, I'm glad
it's basically,
if I am.
Well, basically it's right. Basically, and what I said is, the problem with arguing to some degree, I never use these words, but I'll use them with you now, is it's very difficult to claim this is an independent study. And the reason why it's difficult to claim it's an independent study is because, number one, you're actually asking a group to confirm what you have done. And you're actually sure, that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did.
But your premise is wrong.
How so?
You're not asking them to confirm what you've done. You're asking them to evaluate what you have done. You're asking them to pass a judgment on whether or not the assumptions you have used are correct.
All right. Bit of semantics there, but okay, fine. And the problem that you've got with doing that is that in reality you're also the one paying the invoice. That makes that charge you're going to get from the opposition and others stick a little bit. It's not the same as doing an independent study where you're looking for outcomes you don't know what they are. Come on, Nalcor wants Navigant to do a study to confirm that their numbers are right, things they've done is fine, the right due diligence was done, etc. There's no problem with it, and I don't argue with any other points, which I also said in my preamble.
But you're assigning a motive to Nalcor that I believe is incorrect. You're saying that Nalcor wants Navigant to say that the work is good regardless of what their findings are.
Oh,
and that is,
no, and I never quite said that either. But I do believe the opposition are going to say to you, and those who oppose the contract, those who oppose the arrangement today, are going to say to you, Premier, in all honesty, if these guys are paying the bill, right? It's the piper. The man who pays the piper calls the tune. You're going to have to live with that, and therefore the word independent doesn't quite wash on this kind of study.
I understand the position that will be put forward by the opposition party. They would maintain that position only, though, if Navigant made positive recommendations around the project. Had Navigant come back being very negative and saying that Nalcor hadn't done their work, I suspect we'd be hearing that from Nalcor would be like getting, or from Navigant would be like getting a letter from God.
I have no doubt you'd be hearing. I told you so from all quarters.
I understand the political motivation of the opposition parties. Believe me, I truly do. What I'm saying to you, though, and to the people of the province is, this is an important piece of work, but it's one piece of work in what we're doing in the development of Muskrat Falls. Who is going to fund an independent study and not have the same accusations made of them? Who's going to pay for it? Nalcor doesn't.
I got to be honest.
The government.
I don't think you can do it now because of that. The question you're asking is dead on. To where do you turn now to actually get what one would classify as, true independence that everybody would live with.
Absolutely, but there are other factors that people have to look at. First of all, Navigant was chosen to do this piece of work as a result of a request for a proposal. So this wasn't somebody who was handpicked. There was a request for proposals went out with criteria, very public, transparent process. Navigant, who are they? An international company coming out of a head office in Chicago, has an office in Toronto, but has offices all around the world. An international company with an international reputation who sell expertise and credibility on their expertise with regard to these kinds of issues, generation. And if people will take the time to read Navigant's report, they take the assumptions that Nalcor has made, for example, around the price of oil, and they test the assumption. They go out and they use their expertise. They look at the PIRA forecast. They look at other forecasts. They lay out their analysis and say why they believe that Nalcor's assumptions are correct. They do the same on energy forecasting, generation requirements. These are the assumptions that they have made. Are they correct? Here's how we've tested them. This is the information we've looked at. They do the same thing in terms of the financial planning, the assumptions that Nalcor has made on overruns, timing, and they lay out their rationale for either supporting or Nalcor's position, or saying that you need to do this, or you could add this here, or you haven't considered this. The bottom line, though, at the end of all of that piece of work, what they're saying is this is a solid piece of work. And even when you consider all the alternatives, when you add in pieces that Nalcor hasn't included in their project planning, even though they may have had it in their analysis and preparation, that Muskrat Falls is the lowest cost and best solution to the energy demands that we're going to have in this province.
Premier, Premier, I'm going to stop you there because it's 9:59 and I got to go and do my news. If you wanted to hang on for a minute, or we can talk again later.
Sure.
You want to hang on because I want to ask you this. I want to ask you this question: the environmental report and this report. Which one do you take seriously? Hold that thought till we come back. Which one of these gets the most weight from the government of Newfoundland and Labrador? We're going to speak with the Premier for another couple of minutes right after the news. We're back right after this. Got to pay our bills, folks. All right, we are back. Premier Dunderdale, have I still got you?
You still have.
All right, good. You got your cup of tea, obviously. We've only got another minute or two, but there are a couple of questions I got for you.
Sure.
And the first one, obviously, again, dealing with the Navigant report. All right, so now we've got dueling reports out there. Here we have the report of the environmental panel, and that report says Nalcor didn't do enough. There's a lot of questions.
It said that it needed more independent study on whether or not it was the lowest cost option.
Right.
That's what Navigant does.
You produce Navigant, but I would say to you that a lot of people will continue to charge and say that Navigant doesn't represent an independent report.
Well, I disagree with that, but, as I was saying to you before we went to break, Navigant is an international company whose chief commodity is their credibility and expertise in this area. To suggest that this is an unethical company that will put its business around the world at risk for $250,000 from Nalcor, which they were going to get regardless if the report was positive or negative, is ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. But, I know that the opposition particularly are going to maintain that position. How, sensible thinking people and who understand how this work gets done, and thank goodness most of the people in this province fit into that category, will understand that this is a perfectly legitimate and acceptable process. But coming on the heels of that, we will have the PUB independent study, that engages.
They engage the Manitoba Hydro, right?
Hydro, but, we still appoint people to the PUB. We fund the PUB. So, if somebody is of that mindset, they could very well make the same accusation when that.
And I'm sure that same accusation will no doubt be
so
made.
the question then becomes is who does the independent? I mean, this is a
who is truly independent?
Foolish position to be taken. Read the report, do an analysis of what's in the report, and if the reasoning is flawed, if the analysis is flawed, put it out there so that we can deal with it, and we can deal with it in a public discussion, and people can have an informed opinion one way or the other. In terms of the review panel, the Environmental Assessment Review Panel, they clearly say in their report that they didn't make a decision on opposing views that were presented. If the Grand River Keepers came or an environmental group came, they gave them equal weight, their information equal weight, whether it was anecdotal or scientific, with, for example, information that was provided by Nalcor. And they were very clear on that. And that's why they encouraged more work and at an independent arm's length way to demonstrate the positive or negatives of this project. The only issue that I had with the environmental review was the suggestion towards the end of the report that perhaps Nalcor shouldn't have as a major consideration lowest cost alternative. There was a suggestion that we should look for the best alternative to generate electricity in the province and not have that dictated by the lowest cost for ratepayers. We can't do that. We're not mandated to do that. And, to move away from the position of the lowest cost alternative for ratepayers in the province would be very difficult for me personally. But other than that, I don't have an issue with what the review panel had to say. They're both valid pieces of work.
Premier Cathy Dunderdale, there are all kinds of things I want to talk to you about with the election coming. I'm looking forward to perhaps having you in the studio when the election is on.
Sure.
And we'll be doing a question and answer, and because I would like to talk to you about CISPO. I'd like to talk to you about the Elizabeth Matthews situation, a whole bunch of other things, but we're going to hold it for another day. Because we're in the middle of an election, whether we like it or not, we're kind of run out of time here. I thank you for this.
You're very welcome, and thank you for giving me the time. I really do appreciate it.
Any time at all, no problem.
All the best.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
You heard what the Premier had to say. I guess, we could debate this for hours, the whole issue of use of the word independent, but we'll leave that up to others to have a chat about.